So in my career, I've interviewed probably over 100, maybe a couple hundred people over the years at 343. And in today's video, I'm going to be sharing 3 tips that I have for you. If you've got an upcoming interview, make sure you pay attention and do these. The first one I've got is be honest. Now, there's 2 main reasons why I'm sharing this. One is, don't be surprised if the company you're trying to hire for is going to do a fact check on all of your resume and what you said. There's a background check with it, at least at Microsoft. It is thorough, it is extensive, and I've heard of people not getting a job at the very last moment, which is actually heartbreaking because the way it works at Microsoft, you will go through the entire interview process, you will get an offer, you will basically take the offer, you'll basically, for all intents and purposes, get the job. And then they do a background check. If anything comes up in your background check, you're done. Be super honest with everything that you say and that you do for those purposes, but also during your interview. You don't want to be faking the work that you have done. You don't want to do the fake it till you make it. The last thing you want is to get the job and then be failing at it and then ultimately get fired or whatever it is, get phased out later. There's nothing wrong with admitting that hey, I don't have experience here, but here's what I think I can bring to the table, or here's something similar that I did. I think I could apply these skills, or hey, this is a part of my personality, some of my traits, and I think I could apply it here. There's nothing wrong with giving that kind of answer. And at the end of the day, if you're not the right fit for the job, you're not the right fit for the job. Don't lie to your manager, whoever it is, your future manager that's interviewing you, especially if it gets caught out later. That's just going to sour the relationship. Okay, the next one is to be real, which I know is kind of similar to be honest, but what I mean by this is more about your personality, who you are, being real with yourself, being true to yourself, and how you present yourself to the people that are interviewing you. If there are certain things that you don't like, work styles, hey, I prefer like this, or coworkers who have done this in the past, if you get asked that question, be real. Don't fake kind of who you are to try to fit into what you think that culture at wherever you're trying to get a job at is going to be. Because ultimately, again, down the road, it's just going to prove to not be the right fit. And also, don't kiss ass, which is another clear way to say it. I know when people are doing that to me when I'm interviewing them, I pick up on it right away, and it undermines the entire interview because now I have to basically think while I'm getting questions from this person, hey, are they being straight up with me? Are they being real? Is this really who they are? Again, that just kind of erodes the foundation of this interview. Sometimes there are things people have said to me where they're almost real to the point where it's almost like a negative. And I actually like that. Not that it's actually a negative, but it's to the real where they're just hey, actually, I don't like this thing, or this is not what's important to me, or this is the way I like to work and not this way. Then I understand where this person is standing, and they're not just feeding me lip service to try to get on my good side or whatever it might be to try to ace this interview. If I get nuggets of information like that from a person where they're sharing something that is maybe negative, but it's very real to who they are, that is something that will build trust, and I get more of what they're saying in the interview, and I believe more of their answers and who they are. And again, if it doesn't fit, it doesn't fit. But at the very least, now we have this foundation of a real honest conversation that we can have for the rest of the interview. And I know if I'm going to ask really tough questions, I'm expecting, unless they flip their script, that I'm going to get some real answers. So that's my second tip. Be real. All right, and the third one is prepare to ask your own questions. I like to leave time at the end of interviews for people, or to take extra time to ask if they have any questions for me, just as a common courtesy. But I also like to know where people's heads are at. And so if people aren't prepared with questions, it shows to me that they didn't really take this as seriously. They're not super interested in the job. They maybe are doing a bunch of interviews or whatever the case might be. This is not important to them. But sometimes I will get really thoughtful questions that are in depth about the strategy of what we're doing, or typical ones you'll hear is how would I fit on the team? What would be my day-to-day like? I also get good questions around how the team works and how they would fit into the team, and what are the different, especially if it's like for a production role, what are the different ways that they and the team and whatnot will work together. So I always like when people come prepared with questions, especially if they're like hard strategic questions about the business that we're all kind of working in and what this person is trying to get hired for. So I work in esports, and I love when people ask me strategic questions about esports, like where do you see Halo Esports going, or what are the big challenges that you face right now with Halo Esports? And I think the good interviewees will tie their skills and their knowledge and experience back to potential solutions if it makes sense. And as long as they're not like stretching for that or trying to tie two things that don't really go together, then it usually comes off pretty authentic. Definitely come with your own set of questions. And even if you don't have time in your interview, because I know sometimes it's like 30 minutes, hard stop, you're done. Or if it's like you're in a big loop, you get the person for an hour, definitely like follow up over email with the questions and say, hey, I appreciate your time. Thanks for your interview. Looking forward to hearing back. In the meantime, if you do have the time, I did have some questions. If you could please answer these for me, et cetera, et cetera. Whenever people have done that, I've 100%, return rate. I've always responded. And, at least from my perspective, it kind of bodes well for the person who's going for the job. So be prepared, ask your own questions, ask thoughtful questions, really try to entrench yourself in the business that you're trying to join and the team that you're trying to join. Because ultimately, remember, like you're trying out for a team basically. And at least from the way I see it, the HCS team, like we're a wolf pack. And it's like, do you want to join this wolf pack? Like, it takes a lot to show that and to prove it. And we take that very seriously. The team is everything. So if you're taking that seriously, it's going to reflect well on your chances and how I or someone else will perceive you as a fit for that team. Okay, that's gonna do it for today's video. Those are 3 interview tips that I've got. If you've got any, be sure to leave them in the comments so we can all learn from each other. Thank you again for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.